What is existentialism and how do we stop it? How do we prevent it? Existentialism is virtually the realization, like an epiphany. You realize your mortality, death. It is emotion and thought at once. And you realize that you're going to die. And so you ask yourself, well, if I'm going to die, then what's the point of doing anything? That's more or less existentialism. Well, it's a whole philosophy discussing this, these feelings, this everything. In a deeper sense, in layers and everything. Camus, he speaks of revolting against this. And Nietzsche, he speaks of greater health. I speak of greater health, but I speak of returning the value and meaning and everything into life again. Going deeper and deeper into health and value of life and health and subjective experience. That's the only way out of existentialism. So I guess I just explained how to get out of it. And it started personally when I was a kid and I realized that I loved science and I loved nature. So I separated nature with the idea of God. So in some sense, it started with metaphysics for me. It started with the clash of religion versus science. That was also an epiphany for me. Realizing that, oh my God, there is no God, you know? And I've had this for a long time. And there isn't this sense of direction, you know? There isn't this sense of anything. So existentialism in a lot of ways means that we have to take action and design our lives and create our lives. Essentially, this is what Camus says, all right? But Camus, nor Nietzsche, nor anyone, or Kierkegaard, none of them actually gives us any guidance. So they say we have to create it for ourselves. And I agree. But the reason why existentialism never took off, I mean, in a massive way. Now, of course, it is popular, but if we compare existentialism to even Stoicism, it's not even close. At least Stoicism, it has principles, it has the virtues it goes after. I feel my mission is creating these principles for existentialists or nihilists in a modern day, all right? Because we are increasingly atheistic, we're increasingly non-believers, but the interesting thing is that they're universal principles. So it doesn't matter what religion you believe in, you can still follow my principles. The way we prevent it is through these principles. And we've got to have principles because when we don't have any direction, we feel chaos. So when you realize that there is no God, or even if you don't realize this, you can still feel lost in life. A lot of people feel lost today. But religious people, at the very least, always have a sense of direction. If they're in doubt, they always move back to God. Not always, but most of the time. This tree here, they killed it. All right, so it was my friend. They killed my friend. So you see, death in everything. But we control that death. Now, in some sense, we control our own death, and that is Camus. But that is not the problem as soon as you say yes to life, all right? When you say yes to life, when you accept your fate, even in struggle, you should even love your struggle. So it's not just amor fati, it's amor struggle, because Sisyphus, he loves his struggle. Now, it's not just that, all right? So that is the start. You gotta continue, and you gotta put the value in living, and you gotta stop just thinking about life. You have to also live life. Now, this might be obvious to a lot of people, but I'm talking to existentialists now, and thinkers, and people who love to think. Because when you think too much, and you should think, all right? I love thinking, all right? I do that every single day. I've thought about meaning of life every single day for like 15 years or something. And it's not going to change anytime soon because my nature isn't going to change in that sense anytime soon. But I will change. I'm changing all the time. We got to realize that the principle of change. We always change every single day. And if we haven't changed, we haven't adapted, technically there is no such thing as improvement, but a difference. You become more according to your higher desire. whatever you want to become in your life, whatever that is. So you start realizing whatever those higher desires are. Certain things I want to change in my life, and certain things I want to keep. And you keep whatever you like and utilize, and whatever you have use for. I'm heightening myself. So you heighten who you are. It is an emphasis on the core, so you heighten that core, reaching ever greater heights. That's the whole point of everything in life. Because we don't want mediocrity. We always want to avoid mediocrity. And we always want to reach ever higher heights. This is what Camus says. This is also in some sense what Nietzsche says. This is what we keep from Nietzsche and Camus, all right? But there is more. There is always more, always more. What's the next step? You gotta be a complete human being. Completeness as well. But completeness in heights, in emphasis. So you emphasize everything, almost like a caricature. You nail down whatever the contours are, you nail down precisely what it is, and then you heighten that, you emphasize that, and you work on that, and that will keep things simple and beautiful, and yet it will be complex enough to be rich. But you go deeper into those layers, so you make life simplistic, and yet it has deep layers in each and every area of your life. Relations, health, wealth, whatever it is. Let's not forget that we're sexual creatures as well. You need that area of your life as well. But there is no such thing as perfection. Actually there is, but only in death. But you don't have to worry about death, because when you are, death is not. And when death is, you are not. Those are the words from Epicurus. They're very useful to get out of this death thinking all the time. You also need proper sleep to battle existentialism. You know, the existential crisis, angst, dread, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same. I'm talking about your destiny here, all right? Your destiny. You got to organize yourself so that you become yourself, become the best version of yourself. That means nothing, because there is no best. There is only a different version of yourself. The one you want to be and the one you currently are at, which you don't like. That's the only thing that exists. How do we combat everything? Through core philosophy. That's how we combat everything. Through realizing that your subjective experience, your health, is everything, and everything goes from this. Everything else is secondary. All right, so that's how you do this. That's how you become greater and move towards greater health. I will see you in the next video.